Poor twin girls cry at the airport and grab a young billionaire's hand saying, "We're looking for our dad. Mommy is very sick. Can you help us?" What happens next is unforgettable. Colton Rhodes adjusted the Rolex on his wrist and glanced out the window of the private jet. Below, the lights of New York City glittered like tiny diamonds scattered in the darkness. 3 days in Chicago closing the acquisition of a tech company had been productive. Another 15 million added to his net worth. At 32, Colton had built an empire that started with a startup in his mother's garage. Now, Rhodes Enterprises was one of the largest investment firms on the East Coast. Money wasn't an issue. Time was. "Mr. Rhodes will be landing in 10 minutes, the pilot announced over the intercom. "Thanks, Marcus." Colton put his laptop away in his Italian leather briefcase and thought about what awaited him at home. An empty penthouse apartment in a downtown skyscraper. Silence. Well-paid loneliness. He didn't mind, he preferred it that way. Relationships were complicated, costing time and energy he'd rather invest in his business. He had tried a few times, beautiful, intelligent women who understood his world, but it always ended the same way. He chose work, they chose to leave. JFK Airport was bustling even in the late afternoon. Colton deplaned and walked through the executive terminal toward the parking lot where his driver was waiting. Tailored suit, Italian shoes, leather briefcase, everything in its place. That's when he heard it. A soft but persistent cry. Colton stopped and looked around. It wasn't his business, but the sound bothered him. The sound of a crying child always made him uncomfortable. Then he saw them, 2 small identical girls, sitting on the floor near a trash can. They must have been about 5. Disheveled light brown hair, clothes that had seen better days. One was crying silently while the other rubbed her back. Colton hesitated. Where were their parents? Why were 2 small children alone in an airport? He looked around for a responsible adult, but only saw hurried people walking straight past, as if 2 crying children were invisible. Suddenly, the 2 girls stood up and ran toward him. Before he could react, they grabbed his hand, one on each side, holding on tight as if he were their only hope. "Please, sir," the girl who was crying less said, looking up at him with big, desperate eyes. "We're looking for our daddy. Mommy is very sick. Can you help us?" Colton stood frozen, looking down. 2 tiny children holding his hands tightly, as if they knew he was different from the others who had walked right by. "Your parents?" "No." The girl hesitated, glancing at her still sobbing sister. "We're looking for our daddy. Mommy is very sick. Can you help us?" Colton felt a strange pang in his chest. 2 abandoned children asking for help. He knew nothing about kids, but he knew about abandonment. He knew how much it hurt. "Where is your mommy?" "At home. She has a very high fever and coughs a lot," the braver girl explained. "She said Daddy always comes here when he travels, that if we waited, he would show up." "You came here by yourselves?" "Yes." Mommy called a cab and gave the driver money. She said it was very important. Colton looked at the 2 of them more closely. 2 thin, mended clothes, worn-out shoes. Clearly poor. "What are your names?" "I'm Lucy," said the braver one. "And she's Ruby. She's crying because she's hungry." "How long has it been since you've eaten?" "Since yesterday morning. There was no more food at home." Colton closed his eyes for a second. 2 5-year-old children who hadn't eaten in over a day, abandoned in an airport looking for their father. "Do you have a picture of him?" Lucy opened a small, worn-out pink backpack and took out a crumpled photo. She held it out to Colton with hands that trembled. He didn't know if from fear or hunger. "This is our daddy." Colton took the photo and his world fell apart. Nathan. His brother Nathan was smiling in the picture, hugging a beautiful blonde woman. Between them, the same girls who were crying in front of him. Younger in the photo, but it was them. Nathan, who had died 6 months ago in a car accident. Nathan, who was buried in a closed casket because the impact was too severe. Nathan, who apparently had a secret family. "Where did you get this picture?" Colton asked, his voice hoarse. "It's our daddy's," Lucy repeated, frowning. "Why did you turn so pale?" Ruby stopped crying and looked at Colton with curiosity. Are you Nathan Morrison's daughters? Yes. Do you know him? Lucy asked, her eyes shining with hope. Colton couldn't breathe properly. Nathan had daughters who were starving while he was accumulating millions. Daughters looking for their dead father in an airport. I do know him. Then can you help us find him? Ruby asked, stopping her tears. What's your mommy's name? Juliet, the two answered together. And she's sick. Very. She can barely get out of bed. She coughs all the time and is very hot, Lucy explained. She said if we didn't find Daddy today, she'd have to go to the hospital alone. Colton stood up and ran a hand through his hair. Nathan had a family in need while he was dead and buried. Girls, first let's take care of your mum, then we'll talk about your dad. But we need to find him, Ruby insisted. Mommy said he always fixes everything. I know. But right now we're going to help Mommy. Colton took out his phone and called his driver. James, change of plans. I'll need the car now. Yes, sir. I'm at the main entrance. You're coming with me, Colton told the girls. We're going to get your mom and take her to a hospital. Are you really going to help? Lucy asked, suspicious. I am. Why? Colton looked at the two of them, trying to see Nathan in their tear-streaked faces. Because you need it, and because... He stopped. How could he explain that their father was dead? How could he say that Nathan would never come back? Because I want to help, he said finally. Come on. Lucy held Ruby's hand, and the two stood up. Colton noticed that Ruby was limping slightly. Did you hurt your foot? He asked. My shoe is too tight, she explained. It grew, but we don't have money to buy another one. Colton felt a pang in his chest. While he spent $1,000 on dinner without a second thought, his brother's daughters wore shoes that hurt their feet. We'll fix that too, he said. The driver was waiting with the black Mercedes. James, a 50-year-old man who had worked for Colton for 5 years, opened the back door and was surprised to see the children. Mr. Rhodes. James, these are Lucy and Ruby. We're going to pick up their mother. Yes, sir. The girls got into the car with wide eyes. They had never seen so much luxury in one place. Is this car yours? Lucy asked. It is. Are you rich? I am. Very rich. Very. Ruby ran her hand over the leather seat. It's soft. Do you want some water or something to eat? Colton asked, opening the mini fridge. Is there food in there? Ruby asked, her eyes shining. There is. Colton took out 2 granola bars and 2 bottles of water. The girls grabbed the food as if they hadn't seen any in days, because they really hadn't. Slowly, he said, or you'll get sick. Thank you, Lucy said with her mouth full. Where do you live? Colton asked. Lucy took a crumpled piece of paper from her pocket. An address written in a shaky hand in a part of the city Colton only knew from the news. High crime, extreme poverty. James, let's go to this address. Yes, sir. The drive took 40 minutes. Colton watched the girls along the way. They ate the granola bars slowly, drank the water in small sips, as if they wanted it to last forever. Do you go to school? He asked. No, Lucy answered. Our mommy said that when Daddy comes back, he'll put us in school. How long has it been since you've been to school? We've never been. Mommy teaches us to read at home. Colton clenched his fists. Nathan had daughters who had never set foot in a school, daughters who went hungry while he was winning Entrepreneur of the Year awards. We've arrived, sir, James announced. The address led to a housing project that looked like a scene from a movie about poverty. Low-rise buildings, peeling paint, trash on the street, old rusty cars, children playing barefoot on the sidewalk. You live here? Colton asked. Yes, on the 2nd floor, Lucy said, as if it were normal. Colton got out of the car and was met with curious stares. A $3,000 suit in a place where most people didn't see $300 a month. James, wait here. Yes, sir. Be careful. The girls led him to the 2nd floor of a building with broken stairs and a rusty handrail. They stopped in front of a door with peeling paint. Mommy, we're back, Lucy shouted, knocking on the door, shuffling footsteps. The door opened and a woman appeared, leaning against the frame. Blonde, beautiful even while sick, but far too thin. deep dark circles under her eyes, a face flushed with fever, short of breath. She looked at Colton. Expensive suit, Italian shoes, a watch that cost more than her rent for an entire year. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice hoarse. "Mommy, he's going to help us find Daddy," Lucy said, running to her, "and he gave us food," Ruby added. The woman, Juliet, hugged her daughters and looked at Colton with suspicion. "We don't take charity," she said, proud despite her situation. "I'm not offering charity," Colton replied. "I'm offering help. You need a doctor. I can't afford it. I'll pay." "Why? You don't even know me." Colton looked at Lucy and Ruby, who were watching him with hope. "Because your daughters asked me for help. And because—" He took a deep breath. "Because I'm Nathan's brother." Juliet turned pale. "You're Colton Rhodes, Nathan Morrison's brother. You're from the family that—" She stopped, looking at the girls. "I am. And I need to talk to you about Nathan. But first, let's take care of your pneumonia." "How do you know it's pneumonia? High fever, dry cough, trouble breathing?" "I'm not a doctor, but I've seen this before." Juliet hesitated. "I can't leave the girls alone. They'll come with me. We'll all go together. I can't accept help from your family." "Why not?" Juliet looked at her daughters, then at Colton. "It's complicated. I have time for complicated. But you need a hospital. Now, are you really Nathan's brother?" "I am." "And you didn't know about us?" It wasn't a question. "I didn't, but I do now, and I want to help." Juliet started coughing, a dry, hacking cough that seemed to tear at her throat. Ruby ran to her and started crying again. "Mommy, are you going to be okay?" she asked. "I will be, sweetie. Mommy just needs some medicine." Colton stepped closer. "Let me help, please." Juliet looked into his eyes for a long moment. Then she nodded. "All right, but only because the girls need me." "Should we pack some things?" Colton asked. "We don't have much to pack." Colton looked around the small apartment. Old furniture, peeling walls, a refrigerator making a strange noise, but it was clean, organized. Juliet was doing what she could with what she had. "Girls, grab some clothes," Juliet said. "We're going to the hospital." "Okay, Mommy," Lucy said, running to get their things. Ruby followed her sister, still holding the piece of granola bar she hadn't finished. In the car, on the way to the hospital, Colton watched the family in the rearview mirror. Juliet held the two girls against her chest, as if to protect them from the world. Lucy and Ruby snuggled into their mother, finally safe. The nearest hospital was 15 minutes away. Colton chose Mercy General, private, expensive, but the best in the city. Money was no object. "James, emergency entrance," he said as they arrived. The driver pulled up in front of the automatic doors. Colton helped Juliet out of the car. She was weaker now, leaning on him to walk. "Girls, come with me," he said, holding both their hands. The emergency room was busy, but Colton went straight to the reception desk. The nurse looked at him. Expensive suit, imposing presence, and then at Juliet, who was clearly ill. "I need a doctor for her." "Now me," Colton said, taking the platinum credit card from his wallet. "There's no spending limit." In 5 minutes, Juliet was on a gurney being taken to an examination room. Lucy and Ruby ran after her, but were stopped by the nurse. "Children can't go in," she explained gently. "But that's our mommy," Ruby cried. Colton knelt to their level. "Mommy is going to be fine. The doctors will take care of her." "Do you promise?" Lucy asked, and her eyes full of tears. "I promise." They waited in a private room that Colton managed to get by, asking to speak with the administrator. Lucy curled up in a chair that was too big for her, while Ruby sat on his lap, still sobbing softly. "She's never been this sick before," Lucy said. "She always took care of us. And now someone will take care of her," Colton replied. An hour later, the doctor appeared, Dr. Patterson, a man with graying hair and a serious expression. "Mr. Rhodes, I need to speak with you." Colton stood up, holding Ruby in his arms. "How is she?" "Severe bacterial pneumonia. It's likely been developing for weeks. If you had waited another day—" He shook his head. "She needs to be admitted. Intravenous antibiotics. Constant observation." At least 3 days. 3 days? Lucy asked, frightened. Maybe more, the doctor continued. She was very weak. Malnutrition, stress, a compromised immune system. Colton clenched his fists. Is she going to be okay? She will. But it will take time for her to fully recover. The doctor crouched down in front of the girls. Are you her daughters? Yes, the two answered together. She's going to get better, but she needs to rest a lot. You can visit her tomorrow. When the doctor left, Lucy held Colton's hand. Kai, what's going to happen to us? You're going to stay with me. At your house. At my house. Ruby stopped crying and looked at him. Is your house big? It's a reasonable size. Does it have toys? Lucy asked. I don't have any. But we can buy some. Can we see Mommy before we go? Of course. They entered the room where Juliet was hooked up to machines, but awake. She smiled when she saw the girls. Hi, my loves. Mommy, are you going to get better? Ruby asked, climbing onto the bed. I will. The doctors will give me medicine and I'll get better. Uncle Colton said we're going to stay at his house, Lucy told her. Juliet looked at Colton. Thank you, she whispered. Get some rest. I'll take care of them. Be good girls, Juliet said to her daughters. And if you miss me, ask Uncle Colton to call me. Okay, Mommy, the two said together. Colton kissed Juliet's forehead. Call me if you need anything. I'll be here early tomorrow. In the elevator, heading down to the parking garage, Ruby held his hand. Uncle Colton, we're hungry. Very hungry, Lucy added. Colton looked at the two of them. When was the last time he had worried about someone else being hungry? Do you like pizza? He asked. Pizza, the two shouted at the same time, their eyes shining. Then we'll have pizza before we go home. Really? Ruby asked, incredulous. Really? I know a good place. With soda? Lucy asked hopefully. With soda. And dessert? Colton smiled, the first genuine smile of the day. And dessert. The girls hugged each other, laughing for the first time since he had met them. Colton Rhodes, the single billionaire who ate dinner alone every day, was about to find out what it was like to eat pizza with 2 5-year-old children. And for the first time in years, he was looking forward to a meal. Tony's pizzeria was crowded, but Colton got a table in the back, away from the chaos. Lucy and Ruby sat side by side, still holding hands, looking at everything with wide eyes. We've never been to a place like this, Lucy whispered, watching the colorful lights and the counter full of pizzas. It's big, Ruby commented, impressed. The waiter approached, a young man who looked curiously at the man in the expensive suit accompanied by 2 clearly poor children. Good evening. What can I get for you? A large margarita pizza, Colton said, and 2 Cokes. Coca-Cola, Ruby asked, incredulous. Coca-Cola, Colton confirmed. The girls looked at each other and smiled, the first real smile of the day. When the pizza arrived, Colton watched the two eat slowly at first, as if they still couldn't believe the food was really theirs. Then more quickly, like someone who doesn't know when they'll eat again. Easy, he said gently. You can eat as much as you want. Really? Lucy asked, a slice of pizza in her hand. Really? Ruby drank the Coke and made a face. It's fizzy. You don't like it. I like it, it's just different. Colton realized they had probably never had soda before. Water was what they had at home. Do you want dessert? He asked when they finished. Dessert? The two asked together. Ice cream, cake, whatever you want. Lucy looked at Ruby, then at Colton. Can we choose? You can. They ordered chocolate ice cream. Colton ordered coffee and watched as they savored every spoonful as if it were the most special thing in the world. Thank you, Uncle Colton, Ruby said softly. Thank you, Lucy repeated. You're welcome. An hour later, they were in the elevator of the most expensive building in the city center. Colton lived on the top floor, a penthouse with a view of the entire city. How many floors are there? Lucy asked, looking at the numbers on the panel. 50. 50. Ruby's eyes widened. The doors opened directly into the apartment. Colton had never thought much about the place he lived. It was functional, expensive, well located. Now seeing it through the girl's eyes, he realized how intimidating it was. Marble floors, modern furniture, contemporary art on the walls, everything white, black, and grey. No colour, no sign that anyone actually lived there. Lucy and Ruby stood at the entrance, holding hands. "You can come in," Colton said. They took a few small steps, observing everything. Their worn shoes made a noise on the marble. Ruby hid behind her sister. "It's very big," Lucy whispered. "And very beautiful," Ruby added, still whispering. Colton realized they were afraid of breaking something, or of making noise, or simply of being there. "This is the living room," he said, trying to sound normal. "That's the kitchen. And the bedrooms are this way." He led them down the hall. 3 bedrooms, all empty except for his. "You can choose where you want to sleep." The girls looked at the empty rooms, just single beds he never used, modern nightstands, huge windows with city views. "Can we sleep together?" Lucy asked. "Of course." "In this room," Ruby pointed to the smallest one. "You can choose any of them." They chose the smallest one, at the end of the hall. Colton brought clean sheets and extra pillows. The girls sat on the bed, still holding hands. "Do you need anything? Water? More food?" "No, thank you," Lucy answered politely. "Brush your teeth before bed. The bathroom is over there." "We don't have toothbrushes," Ruby said softly. Colton paused. Of course they didn't. "We'll buy some tomorrow. Just rinse your mouths tonight." "Okay." He left the room and went to the living room, but he could hear the two of them talking softly. He couldn't make out the words, but the tone was of 2 children trying to understand where they were and what had happened to their lives. 20 minutes later, the apartment fell silent. Colton poured himself a whiskey and sat on the couch. He looked around the apartment that had been his pride and joy. Now it seemed cold, lifeless, a place to sleep, not to live. 2 5-year-old girls had changed everything in a matter of hours. He woke up early the next day, as always. 6 in the morning, black coffee, news on the tablet, a routine of years. But when he went to the kitchen, he heard soft voices coming from the girls' room. "I think he's still sleeping," Lucy whispered. "Can we leave the room?" Ruby asked. "I don't know. What if he gets mad?" Colton smiled. He knocked lightly on the bedroom door. "Good morning, girls. Did you sleep well?" The door opened slowly. Lucy peeked out first, then Ruby appeared behind her. "Good morning, Uncle Colton," the two said together. They came out of the room slowly, still shy, but curious. The morning light streamed through the huge windows, illuminating the apartment in a way that seemed magical to them. "How can I see the city?" Ruby asked, pointing to the window. "Of course." The two ran to the living room window and stared, mouths agape, at the view below. Cars as small as toys, people who looked like ants. "It's so high," Lucy observed. "You can see everything," Ruby added, amazed. "Are you hungry?" he asked. "A little," Lucy replied, still a bit shy. "Yeah, let's make something simple." The fridge was almost empty. Colton ate out most of the time, eggs, milk, sliced bread. "How about scrambled eggs with toast?" he suggested. "Okay," the two agreed. After the simple breakfast, Colton showed them the huge TV in the living room. Lucy and Ruby were mesmerized by the colorful cartoons, the giant screen, the perfect sound. "So you can watch whatever you want," he said, but they didn't stay still for long. Soon they were exploring the apartment, running through the hallways, laughing when they discovered the echo. "Uncle Colton," Ruby shouted from the living room. "Is there any paper here?" "What kind of paper?" "For drawing." Colton brought notepads from his office. The girls sat on the cold marble floor and started to draw. "What are you doing?" he asked, sitting on the rug with them. "Mommy in the hospital," Lucy explained, showing a drawing of a woman in a bed. "And us, here with you," Ruby added, drawing 3 people in a big house. Colton looked at the drawings. Simple figures, childish lines, but full of life. Something his apartment had never had. They turned out very nice. "Can we put them on the fridge?" Lucy asked. "Of course." They ran to the kitchen and Colton helped them tape the drawings to the stainless steel refrigerator. Suddenly, it had color. The day passed quickly. The girls watched cartoons, made more drawings, played hide and seek in the empty rooms. Colton cancelled all his meetings and just watched. By late afternoon, they were tired. They threw themselves onto the large living room sofa, one on each side of him. "Uncle Colton," Ruby said sleepily, "what is it?" "Your house is cool." "It's different from ours," Lucy added, "but it's good." Colton looked around. Drawings on the fridge. Makeshift toys scattered on the floor. Children's voices echoing through the hallways that had always been silent. For the first time in years, his apartment felt like a home. "I think it's good too," he said, stroking their hair. "Can we see Mommy tomorrow?" Ruby asked. "Of course you can," he replied. The two smiled and snuggled closer to him. Colton sat still, feeling the weight of the children against his chest, listening to their breathing slow down. His cold house had transformed into a warm home in less than 24 hours, and he discovered he liked the change. The next morning, Colton woke to the sound of whispers coming from the kitchen. It was only 6 in the morning, but Lucy and Ruby were already awake. He found them sitting on the kitchen floor, sharing a piece of paper and some colored pencils he had given them the day before. Ruby was drawing a small house while Lucy drew flowers around it. "Good morning, girls." "Good morning, Uncle Colton," they replied without looking up from their drawings. "You're up early." "We always wake up early," Lucy explained. "Mommy said when the sun rises, it's time to get up." Colton made coffee for himself and juice for the girls. He made simple scrambled eggs. He was learning they liked uncomplicated food. "Let's eat at the table," he said. The three of them sat at the glass kitchen table. Lucy and Ruby ate slowly, still drawing between bites. "What are you drawing?" Colton asked. "Our old house," Ruby answered, showing the drawing of the small house. "Was it nice?" "It was," Lucy said. "It had a small yard where we used to play." "And a tree," Ruby added. "Mommy hung a rope for us to swing on." Colton looked at the drawing. A simple house, but made with love. 2 small figures playing in the yard, a woman smiling at the door. "Did you live there for a long time?" "Since we were born," Lucy said. "Daddy bought it when Mommy was pregnant with us. He said he wanted us to have a safe place to grow up," Ruby completed. Colton felt something tighten in his chest. Nathan had bought a house for his family, a family no one knew existed. "And when did you leave?" The girls looked at each other. Lucy put down her pencil and sighed. "Daddy went on a trip and took a long time," she said simply. "A very long time," Ruby added. "Mommy kept waiting for him to come back." "How long was he gone?" "Many months," Lucy recounted. "Mommy would cry sometimes. She said he'd be back soon, but he didn't come back," Ruby finished, her voice growing quieter. Colton swallowed hard. They didn't know Nathan was dead. To them, he had simply gone on a trip and never returned. And what happened next? "Mommy lost her job," Lucy said, going back to her drawing, as if it made the conversation easier. "Why?" "She was very sad. Sometimes she couldn't get out of bed. Sometimes she cried at work," Ruby explained. "'Cause her boss said she couldn't work there anymore. And then it got hard," Lucy said. "Without Daddy and without Mommy's job." Colton stopped eating. "Hard how?" "There was no money for food," Ruby said, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. "We would share a piece of bread 3 ways. 1 piece of bread for the 3 of you." "Yeah." "Mommy would cut it into 3 pieces. She always gave us the bigger pieces," Lucy explained. "And your mom. She'd say she wasn't hungry. But we knew she was," Ruby whispered. Colton closed his eyes for a second. Juliet was starving so her daughters could eat. And they knew it. "How long did you live like that?" "A long time," Lucy answered. "First the good food ran out. Then there was only old bread that Mommy bought cheap. Sometimes we only ate once a day," Ruby added. "And your mum?" "Mommy sometimes didn't eat at all. She'd say she would eat later, but she never did," Lucy said, her eyes filling with tears. Colton felt anger at Nathan for dying. Anger at his family for never checking if he had left anyone behind. Anger at himself for not knowing. "And that's when you had to leave the house?" "Yeah," the two said together. "The man from the bank came," Lucy explained. "He said we couldn't live there anymore." "Mommy cried a lot that day," Ruby remembered. "She packed our things in just 1 suitcase." "And where did you go?" "To the small apartment where you found us," Lucy said. "Mommy said it was temporary, that when Daddy came back, we would have a nice house again." But it was very different there, Ruby recounted. It was noisy all night, and the water from the tap came out brown. And the food? There was almost none, Lucy admitted. Mommy worked cleaning houses, but she earned very little. It was only enough to pay the rent and buy a little food, Ruby explained. Sometimes we were very hungry, Lucy said quietly. But we couldn't complain because Mommy was already so sad. Colton held his breath for a second. You were hungry and you didn't complain. Mommy was already crying so much, Ruby explained. We didn't want to make her sadder. So, you took care of her. We tried, Lucy said. When she couldn't get out of bed, we'd make her tea. And we'd sing the songs she liked, Ruby added. What songs? The ones Daddy used to sing to us when we were little, Lucy said, smiling for the first time in the conversation. You remember him singing? A little, Ruby answered. He had a beautiful voice, and he told funny stories, Lucy remembered. What kind of stories? About nice dragons and brave princesses, Ruby said. He said we were going to be brave princesses too, Lucy added. Colton looked at the two girls, thin, in old clothes, but still dreaming of being princesses. Nathan had left behind 2 daughters who loved him, and a woman who almost died waiting for him. And when did Mommy get sick this time? It got worse little by little, Lucy explained. First it was just a cough, then came the fever. She said it would pass, Ruby recounted, but it didn't. Then she couldn't work anymore, Lucy said. Tartan, there was no more money to buy food. Is that why you went to the airport? Mommy said Daddy always traveled through there, Ruby explained, that if we waited, he would show up. She said if we found him, everything would be okay again, Lucy completed. Colton looked at the drawings scattered on the table, drawings of a happy family in a house with a yard, drawings of a father who would never return. Do you still think he's coming back? The girls looked at each other. Mommy said so, Lucy answered, but without much conviction. But it's been a long time, Ruby added quietly. Do you miss him? A lot, the two said together. Sometimes we dream about him, Lucy shared. He's always smiling in the dreams, and he hugs us tight, Ruby remembered. Colton felt something break in his chest. 2 5-year-old children dreaming of a dead father, a mother nearly dying of pneumonia, waiting for someone who would never come back, a family destroyed by the absence of someone he loved and lost. Girls, he said, his voice as gentle as possible. I need to tell you something about your dad. What? Lucy asked. Do you know where he is? Ruby asked hopefully. Colton looked at their hopeful little faces and couldn't do it. Not yet. Not while they were just starting to trust him. I'll tell you later, when Mommy is better. Okay, Lucy said. But you promise you'll tell us? I promise. And you promise you won't leave too? Ruby asked, her voice small. The question hit Colton like a punch. They were afraid he would abandon them too. I promise I won't leave, he said, taking both their hands. You're safe now with me. Really? Lucy asked. Really? You'll never be hungry again. You'll never be alone again. The two looked at each other and smiled. Then they ran to hug him. Colton hugged them back, feeling the weight of the responsibility he had taken on. 2 lives depended on him now. 2 children who had already suffered too much. For the first time in his life, he understood what truly mattered. It wasn't money. It wasn't business. It wasn't achievements. It was this. It was taking care of those in need. It was being the security they never had. It was being the family Nathan couldn't be. The next afternoon, while Lucy and Ruby were watching cartoons in the living room, Colton decided to tidy up his office. There were papers scattered everywhere, contracts, reports, documents that had been piling up for months. He was never very organized with personal things. Business? Yes. Everything had its place, but his personal life was always secondary. Now, with 2 children in the house, he needed to get things in order, especially since they were curious and touched everything. Colton opened the desk drawer where he kept old things, old business cards, travel receipts, a few letters he had never thrown away. At the bottom of the drawer, his fingers touched something familiar, a small photo, its edges yellowed with time. He pulled it out and paused. It was a picture of him when he was 8 and Nathan was 5. the two of them in their parents' backyard, covered in mud after a rainy afternoon. Nathan was holding a small frog in his hands, while Colton made a face at the camera. Colton smiled. He had completely forgotten about this photo. He had forgotten how small Nathan was, how they used to play together before life got complicated, before the money, before the competition, before they became strangers. "Uncle Colton," Lucy appeared at the office door. "What are you doing?" "Just tidying up some things." "Can I see?" Ruby appeared behind her sister, curious. "You can come in." The two approached the desk where Colton was sitting. "What's that?" Ruby asked, seeing the photo in his hand. Colton hesitated for a moment. Then he decided to show them. "It's an old photo." Lucy climbed onto the chair next to him to get a better look. Ruby leaned on the desk. "Who are those boys?" Lucy asked. Colton took a deep breath. "This is your daddy," he said, pointing to little Nathan. "And this is me." The two of them widened their eyes. "That's Daddy?" Ruby asked, incredulous. "It is. When he was 5 years old. Your age. He was so little," Lucy exclaimed. "And so were you." Ruby laughed. "We were. This picture was taken on a day it rained a lot, and we played in the mud in the backyard." "Did you live together?" Lucy asked. "Yes, we were brothers. We shared the same room. And did you play together?" "Every day." Ruby touched the photo carefully. "He's holding something." "A frog," Colton explained. Nathan loved frogs. Whenever it rained, they'd appear in the yard, and he wanted to catch them all. "Did he like animals?" Lucy asked, interested. "A lot. Dogs, cats, frogs, even insects. Our mum was always getting after him for bringing critters into the house." The girls laughed. "And you, did you like them too?" Ruby asked. "I was scared," Colton admitted. "Nathan was braver than me." "Really?" Lucy seemed surprised. "Really? He wasn't afraid of anything?" "He'd climb tall trees, swim in the lake even when it was cold, talk to strangers." "And did you get mad?" Ruby asked. "Sometimes. I was the older brother, so I thought I had to look after him, but he never listened to me." "Was he stubborn?" Lucy asked, smiling. "Very stubborn. When he decided to do something, no one could change his mind." The girls looked at each other and laughed. "Just like us," Ruby said. "That's right," Colton agreed. "You take after your father." "Did he know how to make funny faces?" Lucy asked, looking at the photo where Colton was making a silly face. "He made the best funny faces in the world," Colton replied, smiling at the memory. "Especially at dinner time, to make me laugh and spill my food." "Show us how he did it," Ruby requested. Colton thought for a moment, then made the same face Nathan used to make. He crossed his eyes, puffed out his cheeks, and wiggled his ears. The girls burst out laughing. "Like this." Lucy tried to imitate him. More or less. Nathan could wiggle just one ear. Ruby tried to wiggle her ears and couldn't. "It's hard." "He practiced a lot," Colton explained. "He'd spend hours in the mirror trying." "Did he sing?" Ruby asked. "He sang. He had a beautiful voice, even when he was little." "What songs did he like?" Colton thought. "Radio songs. He would memorize all the lyrics and sing all day long." "And did you sing along?" "I tried, but I was always off-key." "Did Daddy teach you?" Lucy asked. "He tried. He was patient with me." "Even though you were older?" "Even though I was older, Nathan was always better at some things than I was." "At what?" "Making friends, telling jokes, making people happy." Ruby held the photo more carefully. "Can I keep it?" Colton hesitated. It was the only photo he had of the two of them together as kids. "You can keep it," he said finally, "but take good care of it." "We will," Lucy promised. "Can we show it to Mommy?" Ruby asked. "Of course." "She'll be happy to see Daddy when he was little," Lucy said. "Saz, do you have other pictures of him?" Ruby asked. "A few. I can look for them." "Please," the two pleaded together. Colton smiled. "All right, but now help me look for more things in this drawer." The girls got excited. They started rummaging through the drawer with him, asking about every object they found. "What's this?" Lucy asked, holding an old keychain. "From the first car I bought." "And this?" Ruby showed an old movie ticket. From a movie I went to see with Nathan when he turned 15. Did you still play together when you were big? Colton paused. The truth was, they didn't. When they grew up, they drifted apart. Colton focused on his studies and then on business. Nathan went down a different path. They barely spoke in the last few years. Sometimes, he lied, but when we grew up, we each went our own way. But you still liked each other? Lucy asked, as if sensing there was more to it. We always loved each other, Colton replied, and that was true, even when we didn't see each other much. Just like us, Ruby said, hugging Lucy. Even when we fight, we're still sisters. Exactly. They continued exploring the drawer. They found a few more photos, old cards, a drawing Nathan had made for Colton when they were children. Did he draw? Lucy asked, seeing the drawing. He did. And well, better than me. Just like us, Ruby said proudly. Sam, what did he like to draw? Cars, airplanes, superheroes. Boy stuff. And did you play superheroes? Lucy asked, interested. We did. He always wanted to be Superman. And you? Batman. Because he didn't have superpowers, just money. The girls laughed. Did you wear costumes? Ruby asked. We made them out of sheets and towels. Our mum would go crazy. Did she get mad? At first, yes, then she started to help. She made us real capes. Was she nice? Colton thought of his mother. Strict, demanding, but she loved her sons. She was. She just wanted us to be happy. Does she know us? Lucy asked suddenly. Colton was at a loss for words. His mother didn't know Nathan had daughters. No one in the family knew. No, he said finally. But one day I'll introduce you to her. Will she like us? She'll love you. Ruby held the photo again. Can I keep it in our room? Of course. I'll show it to Lucy every night before bed, she said. And we'll tell stories about little Daddy, Lucy added. Colton felt something warm in his chest. Talking about Nathan with the girls was different. It wasn't painful like he had imagined. It was comforting, as if Nathan was still there somehow. Do you want me to tell you more stories about him? Colton asked. Yes, the two shouted together. Every day, Ruby asked hopefully. Every day. Promise? I promise. Lucy hugged Colton. Thank you for showing us little Daddy. Thank you for keeping his pictures, Ruby completed. Colton hugged them both back. For the first time since Nathan's death, talking about his brother didn't hurt. What hurt was not having known these girls sooner. What hurt was not having been a part of their lives from the beginning, but now he could be. He could keep Nathan alive through stories. He could be the uncle they deserved, and he could finally understand who Nathan really was, not just the irresponsible brother, but the loving father who left two extraordinary daughters behind. Should we look for more pictures? Lucy asked. Let's, Colton replied, smiling. And for the first time in months, smiling wasn't hard. The following days brought changes Colton had never imagined. His apartment, once silent and immaculate, transformed into something completely different. It started with the drawings. Lucy and Ruby drew all the time. On the living room floor, at the kitchen table, even in the bathroom while he brushed his teeth. Paper and colored pencils spread to every corner. Uncle Colton, look. Ruby ran to him with a drawing of a family. It's the three of us. The drawing showed three figures holding hands, two small ones and a large one in the middle. Everyone was smiling. It's beautiful, he said, and he meant it. Can I put it on the fridge? Of course. In a few days, the stainless steel refrigerator was covered in drawings. Colorful houses, huge flowers, strange animals with impossible colors. Each drawing represented a moment of joy they had created there. The laughter came next. Lucy discovered she could make an echo in the long hallway. Hello! She would shout, then laugh when she heard her own voice come back. Ruby discovered she could slide in her socks on the marble floor. She would run through the living room and let herself slide, laughing when she almost hit the sofa. Be careful, Colton would say, but without much conviction. Seeing them happy was more important than preserving the marble. The pillows appeared when Ruby complained that the floor was too hard for drawing. Can we put something soft down? She asked. Colton brought all the pillows from the bedrooms and scattered them around the living room. Soon the girls were building forts, making little houses, and using them as trampolines. "Look, Uncle Colton!" Lucy jumped from one pillow to another. "I'm a frog." "Just like the frog in Daddy's picture," Ruby added, imitating her sister. The apartment came to life. Constant noise, movement, organized chaos, small clothes scattered in the bedrooms, makeshift toys in every corner, children's voices echoing where there had once only been silence. Colton cancelled meetings to stay home. He worked from his laptop while they watched cartoons. He answered important emails with Lucy on his lap and Ruby playing at his feet. "How do you work a lot?" Lucy asked, watching him type. "I used to," he replied. "Now I work less. Because of us? Because of you two. And because I discovered that working too much isn't that important." On the third day, Lucy asked when they could visit their mother. "Today," Colton said. "Let's go see how she is." At the hospital, the girls ran through the corridors holding an envelope they had prepared the night before. "Slow down," Colton requested. "You can't run here." "But we're excited," Ruby explained. "Mommy is going to be so happy," Lucy added. Juliet's room was on the third floor. When they reached the door, the girls stopped and looked at each other. "What if she's still very sick?" Ruby asked quietly. "She'll be fine," Lucy replied, trying to convince herself as well. Colton knocked on the door and opened it slowly. "Juliet, the girls came to see you." "Mommy," the two shouted together, running to the bed. Juliet was sitting up, looking much better. Her face was no longer flushed with fever, her eyes were shining again. "My loves!" She hugged them tightly. "How are you? Are you okay? Is Uncle Colton taking good care of you?" "We're great," Lucy said. "He takes us to the pizzeria and lets us draw on the fridge." "And we bought ice cream," Ruby added. "And we watch a giant TV." Juliet looked at Colton over her daughters' heads. "Thank you," she whispered. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Better, much better. The doctor said I can go home tomorrow." "Really?" the girls asked together. "Really. I just need to take my medicine at home and rest for a few more days." "We made something for you," Ruby remembered, grabbing the envelope. "What is it?" "Open it," Lucy urged, anxious. Juliet opened the envelope and took out a card made with drawings and words written in childish handwriting. "To the most beautiful mommy in the world," she read aloud. "Get well soon because we want you back." The words were surrounded by drawings of flowers, hearts, and a happy family. "Did you make this?" Juliet asked, her eyes filling with tears. "Uncle Colton helped with the hard words," Lucy explained. "But the idea was ours," Ruby completed. Juliet started to cry. Silent tears streamed down her face as she hugged her daughters. "Why are you crying, Mommy?" Ruby asked, worried. "Because I'm happy. Very, very happy." "Happy tears?" Lucy asked. "Happy tears." Colton stood at the door, watching the scene. Mother and daughters hugging, talking softly, laughing together. A family reuniting. He felt something strange in his chest, a feeling he couldn't name. It was as if he was part of it, but at the same time just an observer. "Uncle Colton, come here," Ruby called. "Come join us," Juliet said, smiling. He approached the bed. Lucy took his hand and pulled him closer. "Now we're a complete family," she said. Family. The word echoed in Colton's head. Was that what they were now? A family? "Thank you," Juliet said again, looking into his eyes. "For everything. You don't have to thank me." "Yes, I do. You saved our lives. You saved mine." The girls stayed at the hospital until visiting hours were over. They told Juliet about everything they had done, showed her more drawings, and talked about the movies they had watched. "And Uncle Colton told us stories about Daddy when he was little," Ruby said. "He did?" Juliet asked, looking at Colton. "They were friends when they were kids," Lucy explained. "They played superheroes and caught frogs." "That's nice," Juliet said, smiling. "It's important for you to know those stories." "He promised to tell us more," Ruby said. "And show us more pictures," Lucy added. When they left the hospital, the girls were excited. "Mommy is so much better," Lucy said in the elevator. "She's coming home tomorrow," Ruby completed. "To our new home," Lucy corrected. "Our new home?" Colton asked. Your house is our house now too, right? Ruby asked, insecure. Colton paused for a moment. It was, without realizing it, they had turned his apartment into their home too. Yes, it is, he said. Our home. On Saturday, Colton woke up with a plan. Girls, how about we go out today? Go out where? Lucy asked. To a park, so you can play outside. A park, the two shouted together. Riverside Park was a 20-minute drive away. It was a large park, with playgrounds, trails, and a small lake in the center. When they arrived, Lucy and Ruby were ecstatic. It's huge, Ruby shouted. Look how many kids. Lucy pointed to the crowded playground. You can play wherever you want, Colton said. Just don't go too far. The girls ran to the play equipment. First the slide, then the swings, then the seesaw. Colton followed them, always staying close by. Uncle Colton, can you push me on the swing? Ruby asked. Of course. He pushed both of their swings, watching their happy faces. When was the last time they had played in a park? Maybe never. Higher, Lucy requested. Be careful not to fall. We won't fall. We're brave like Daddy. After the playground, they walked along the trail around the lake. Lucy and Ruby ran ahead, stopping to look at ducks, flowers, and insects. Uncle Colton, look. Ruby pointed to a yellow butterfly, just like the one we drew. It looks very similar. Lucy found a bubble machine that someone had left on a bench. Can I play with it? She asked. Of course. Soon the two were chasing bubbles, trying to pop them before they disappeared. Loud, pure, contagious laughter. Colton took out his phone and started taking pictures. Lucy jumping to catch a big bubble. Ruby running with her arms outstretched. The two of them hugging, smiling for the camera. More pictures, Uncle Colton, Ruby requested. As many as you want. They stopped at a park snack bar for juice. Lucy chose orange. Ruby chose grape. Is it good? Colton asked. Very, the two answered together. Can we come here again? Lucy asked. Whenever you want. Every Saturday, Ruby asked hopefully. And every Saturday. Promise? I promise. After their snack, they played a little more. They collected colorful leaves to take home, found pretty rocks, and chased squirrels. Let's take this to Mommy, Lucy said, saving a perfect red leaf. She'll like it, Ruby agreed. In the late afternoon, as the sun began to set, they returned to the car. Lucy and Ruby were tired but happy. That was the best day of my life, Lucy said, settling into the back seat. Mine too, Ruby agreed. Really? Colton asked. Really, we've never played so much, Lucy explained. And we've never taken so many pictures, Ruby added. Can we see the pictures when we get home? Lucy requested. Of course. Halfway home, Colton looked in the rearview mirror. Lucy and Ruby were fast asleep, their hands intertwined, the leaves they had collected still clutched to their chests, relaxed faces, small smiles, even in their sleep. Complete peace. Colton felt something stir in his chest, a sense of completeness he had never felt before. This was real happiness. Not professional achievements, not recognition, not money in the bank. This, two children sleeping in the back of his car after a perfect day at the park. This was what truly mattered. He drove slowly, trying not to wake them. He wanted this moment to last forever. When they got home, he carried them one by one to their room, trying not to wake them. He took off their shoes, covered them with blankets, and kissed their small foreheads. Good night, girls, he whispered. In the living room, sitting on the sofa surrounded by pillows and drawings, Colton looked at the day's photos on his phone. Genuine smiles, pure joy, moments of simple happiness that would last forever. 3 weeks ago, he was a lonely man obsessed with work. Now he was, what? An uncle? A substitute father? A protector? Family. That's what he was now. Family. And for the first time in his life, that was more important than anything else. He saved all the photos in a special folder on his phone. Our memories, he wrote. Tomorrow, Juliet would be home. Tomorrow they would be a complete family. And Colton finally understood what Nathan had been trying to protect, what was important enough to keep secret, unconditional love, True family, home, things money couldn't buy, but that were worth more than any fortune. Juliet came home on a Tuesday morning. The girls ran to hug her as soon as she entered the apartment, as if they hadn't seen her in months. "Mommy, you're better," Lucy shouted. "Much better," Ruby added, not letting go of the hug. "I'm great, my loves," Juliet said, kissing them both. "And I missed you so much." Colton watched the reunion from the doorway. Juliet still looked fragile, thinner than before, but her eyes were shining again. The fever was gone. The cough had subsided. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Good. Tired, but good. The doctor said you need to rest for a few more days." "I know. I'll follow all the recommendations." The girls led Juliet through the house, showing her everything they had done. The drawings on the fridge, the pillow fort in the living room, the toys scattered in the bedrooms. "Look, Mommy." Ruby showed her the picture of young Nathan taped to the bedroom wall. "It's Daddy when he was little." "How did you get this?" Juliet asked, touching the photo carefully. "Uncle Colton found it in a drawer," Lucy explained. "And he told us a bunch of stories about Daddy." "What stories?" "That he caught frogs," Ruby said, and made funny faces, and sang beautifully, Lucy added. Juliet smiled, but Colton noticed a sadness in her eyes, a sadness the girls couldn't see. "It's good that you know these stories," she said. The rest of the day passed quietly. Juliet rested on the sofa while the girls played around her. Colton worked on his laptop but kept an eye on everyone. As the day went on, Colton noticed that Juliet was becoming more and more thoughtful. She answered the girls, smiled when necessary, but she was distant, as if she were processing something important. In the late afternoon, after Lucy and Ruby got tired and went to watch cartoons in their room, Juliet approached him. "Colton," she said softly, "can I talk to you?" "Of course." "Alone?" He looked at the girls, who were distracted by the TV. "Let's go to the balcony," he suggested. The apartment's balcony overlooked the entire city. Juliet leaned against the railing and stared at the horizon for a moment. The wind blew through her hair, and Colton could see she was nervous. "Thank you," she said finally, "for everything, for the hospital, for taking care of the girls, for bringing us to your home. We've already talked about this, you don't have to thank me." "Yes, I do." "You didn't owe us anything." "Yes, I did, your family." Juliet was quiet for a moment. "You really didn't know about us, did you?" "I didn't." "Nathan never told you?" "Never." "I imagine it must have been a shock. 2 children showing up out of nowhere saying they were your brother's daughters. It was a shock, and yes. But it was the best shock of my life." Juliet smiled, but still seemed sad. She took several deep breaths, as if gathering her courage. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Anything. What was Nathan like as a child? Really? Not the stories you tell the girls, but what was he really like?" Colton thought. "Intense, passionate. When he liked something, he gave it his all. Just like the girls. Just like the girls. And brave. Sometimes too brave." "That explains a lot," Juliet murmured. "What?" She turned to him, leaning her back against the railing. Her hands were trembling slightly. "I need to tell you how I met Nathan, how everything happened. The whole truth. You don't have to." "I do, you deserve to know. The girls deserve for someone in the family to know the real story." Juliet closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them and began. "I met Nathan when I was a waitress at Milano's, downtown. I was 22, studying at night, working during the day to pay for college. And him? He always went there for lunch. Every day, at the same time, always ordered the same thing, turkey sandwich with mustard, no onions, and always left a generous tip." Colton smiled. He hated onions since he was a kid. "I found that out later. At first, he was just another customer, but different from the others." "How so?" "He would ask how I was doing, if I liked working there, if I had family. He seemed genuinely interested in my life. He was always like that, curious about people. He was, and I fell in love. Not for the money, I didn't even know he had money back then. I fell in love with the person he was. And him. He did too. Or at least that's what I thought at the time. Now I know it was true." Juliet paused, looking at her own hands. One day he came in early, and the restaurant was empty. We started talking for real. He told me he worked in investments. I told him I was studying business. We found out we had a lot in common. Like what? We were both stubborn, she smiled. We both lost our fathers early. We both believed family was the most important thing in the world. And you started seeing each other. Yes, we started seeing each other outside of work. Movies, walks in the park, simple dinners, nothing extravagant. Nathan never flaunted his money with me. And how long were you together before? 2 years, 2 wonderful years. I graduated, got a better job, moved out of my aunt's house. Nathan helped me rent a small apartment, but not out of charity, because he loved me. And what happened? Juliet's expression changed. The sadness returned to her eyes. One day your mother came to the restaurant. Colton's stomach tightened. My mother. She knew about us. I don't know how she found out, but she knew everything. My name, where I worked, where I lived. What did she do? She came during the lunch rush when it was busy. She asked to speak to me privately. She said she knew I was dating Nathan. And then she called me into the kitchen, said she knew I was dating Nathan. Juliet paused, her hands trembling more now. She said I wasn't worthy of him. Juliet? She humiliated me, said I was just some waitress trying to take advantage of a rich man, that Nathan was just having fun with me, that men like him never marry women like me. Colton clenched his fists. He knew his mother. He knew how cruel she could be when she wanted to protect her children. And she demanded that I disappear, Juliet continued. She said if I didn't stop seeing Nathan, she would make my life a living hell. She'd make me lose my job. She'd harass me until I left town. And what did you do? I was in shock. I cried so much that day. I thought about telling Nathan, but she had made it clear that if I told him, it would be worse for me. So you broke up with him. I broke up with Nathan that night. I told him I didn't want to see him anymore, that I had met someone else. Did he accept it? No, he was desperate. He asked what had happened, if it was really another man, if he had done something wrong. He begged me to explain. And you? I lied. I said I didn't love him anymore, that I wanted to move on with my life without him. That must have been terrible. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. Seeing the man I loved suffering and not being able to explain why. And did Nathan give up? No, he didn't give up. He kept coming to the restaurant, sending flowers to my apartment, calling. My boss started to get annoyed with the situation. And then one night he followed me home. He waited for me at the building entrance. He said he wouldn't leave until I talked to him. And did you talk? I did, and I broke down. I told him everything. About your mother, about the threats, about how scared I was. How did he react? He was furious. More furious than I had ever seen anyone in my life. He said he was going to talk to her, that he would fix everything, that no one had the right to treat another human being that way. And did he talk to her? He tried. But your mother didn't change her mind. It got worse. She said that as long as he was with me, he was no longer part of the family, that she would disinherit him. Colton felt nauseous. Then she made him choose. She did, family or me. And at first Nathan chose to fight. He said he loved me and wouldn't let anyone decide his life for him. But the pressure was too much. Your mother involved other family members. She started spreading lies about me. Said I was a gold digger, that I was pregnant and trying to pull a scam. Were you pregnant? Not at the time, but she spread the rumor anyway. And Nathan suffered. He lost friends. His family isolated him. His business started to be affected, all because of me. Not because of you, because of prejudice. But still, I felt guilty. Until Nathan had an idea. What idea? We pretended we had broken up, so she would stop harassing us. But Nathan never abandoned me. He just wanted to protect us. What do you mean? Publicly, we were exes. Nathan went back to the family, pretended he had understood his mistake. But privately, we kept our relationship. For how long? 5 years. Until the girls were born. Nathan paid for an apartment for me in a part of the city where no one from his family went. He came to see me whenever he could, always carefully. And did it work? For a while. Your mother stopped harassing me. Nathan regained his position in the family, but it was hard, very hard. Why? Because I wanted a normal life. I wanted to introduce my boyfriend to my friends. I wanted to go to events with him. I wanted him to meet my family. And him? He wanted the same thing, but he was afraid that your mother would find out, and everything would get worse than before. And when did you find out about the girl? Nathan was ecstatic. He said now we had to go public with our relationship, that a baby changed everything. And did you? We tried. Nathan went to talk to your mother again, said he was going to marry me, that we were going to have a child. How did she react? Worse than the first time. She threatened to cut him out of the inheritance, kick him out of the family business, make a public scandal. And Nathan? Nathan backed down again. He said we needed to wait a little longer, that he would find a way to solve everything. Colton saw where the story was going, but he never did. He never did. The girls were born, and we remained a secret. Nathan loved them, came to see them whenever he could, paid for everything for us, but publicly they didn't exist. And you accepted that? At first, yes. I thought it was temporary, that when the girls got a little older, he would find the courage to face his family. But he didn't. No, and I started to get tired. I wanted my daughters to have a present father, not just a visitor. I wanted them to know his family, to feel part of something bigger. Did you fight about it? We fought a lot. I gave him ultimatums. He asked for more time. I threatened to break up for real. He promised to fix it soon. And when was the last time you saw each other? 8 months ago. We had a huge fight. I said I couldn't take living in hiding anymore, that the girls deserved more. He said he was working on a solution, that he had a plan. What plan? I never found out. He left that night saying he was going to fix everything, that he would be back in a few days with a final answer. And he didn't come back. He didn't come back. And I waited. First with anger, then with worry, then with desperation. Colton took a deep breath. It was time to tell the truth. Juliet, I need to tell you something about Nathan. What? Nathan died 6 months ago, a car accident. The world stopped. Juliet just stared at him, as if she hadn't understood the words. What? She whispered. A car accident. On a dark road, coming back from a business trip, he died instantly. No, she shook her head. That can't be true. It is true. I only found out everything now, about you, about the girls. The family never knew he had a family. Juliet started to tremble. No, he was coming back. He always came back. Juliet, he was coming back, she shouted, then covered her mouth, remembering the girls in the other room. The tears started to fall, slowly at first, then in a steady stream. 6 months, she asked, her voice broken. 6 months. And I was waiting. The girls were waiting. You didn't know. Why didn't anyone tell us? Why didn't anyone from the family look for us? Because no one knew about you. Nathan kept you a secret from all of us. Juliet collapsed, literally. She slid to the floor, sobbing. Colton knelt and hugged her. She cried on his shoulder, tears of pain, of anger, of relief, of despair. He's dead, she repeated between sobs. Nathan is dead. He is. And the girls. How am I going to tell the girls? We'll tell them together. When you're ready. I'll never be ready for this. They stayed like that for a long time, hugging on the balcony floor, her crying, him holding her. The silence of the city below contrasted with the pain spreading between them. A silence of pain and truth. Finally, the whole truth had been told. Did he love me? Juliet asked suddenly. He did. If he did all that for you, if he kept you a secret to protect you, he loved you. Then why didn't he come back in those last few months? Because he died. Not because he didn't want to. The girls can't know now, she said. So it's not while I'm like this. It doesn't have to be now. But they deserve to know the truth. They do. And they will. When the time is right. Juliet stood up slowly, wiping her face. Thank you, she said, for telling me, for taking care of them. Thank you for telling me the truth about Nathan. Now I understand who he really was. A man who loved his family more than his own life. Yes, and who left you protected, even without knowing it. When they went inside, Lucy and Ruby ran to them. Why did you take so long? Lucy asked. We were talking about important things, Juliet answered. What things? About your daddy. It's about how much he loved us. Is he coming? Ruby asked hopefully. Juliet and Colton looked at each other. It wasn't time yet. We'll talk about that later, Juliet said. Now let's do something fun. Drawing, the two shouted together. Drawing, Juliet agreed, hugging her daughters. The truth hurt, but it also set them free. Now they could start to heal. Together. 2 weeks passed since the conversation on the balcony. Juliet was physically stronger, but Colton could see that the truth about Nathan still weighed on her shoulders. She smiled for the girls, played with them, but in the quiet moments, the sadness returned to her eyes. Lucy and Ruby noticed that something had changed, but they couldn't pinpoint what. They asked fewer questions about their father, as if sensing it was now a delicate subject. Colton had spent those 2 weeks thinking about the future, the responsibility he had taken on, what Nathan would have wanted for his family. On a Thursday morning, while they were having breakfast, he made an announcement. I have a surprise for you, he said, looking at the three of them. What surprise? Lucy asked, excited. Is it a good surprise? Ruby added. Very good. But we need to go out for you to see it. Go out where? Juliet asked, curious. It's a surprise. Get your things. 20 minutes later, they were in the car. Colton drove through the city toward a residential neighborhood half an hour from downtown. A quiet neighborhood, with tree-lined streets and houses with yards. Where are we going, Uncle Colton? Ruby asked from the back seat. You'll see. Lucy looked out the window, curious about the houses they passed. The houses here are pretty. They are, Juliet agreed. Colton stopped in front of a one-story house, painted white with blue trim. It wasn't large, but it had a front yard with a tree and a well-kept garden, a simple, bright, welcoming house. Why did we stop here? Lucy asked. Get out of the car, Colton said, smiling. The girls ran out and stared at the house. Juliet got out slowly, observing everything carefully. It's pretty, Ruby said. Whose is it? Do you want to see inside? Colton asked, taking a key from his pocket. You have the key, Lucy asked, surprised. I do. Colton opened the front door and motioned for them to enter. The interior was simple but bright. A large living room with big windows, a bright and functional kitchen, 3 well-ventilated bedrooms. Lucy and Ruby ran through the rooms out exploring everything. Look, Mommy, Ruby shouted from one of the bedrooms. It has 2 beds. For me and Lucy, Lucy added. And look at the backyard. Ruby had discovered the back door. The two ran out into the backyard. It was a good space, with grass, a few fruit trees, and enough room to play. Juliet stood in the living room, looking around. Colton, why are we here? Because this is your new home. What? I bought it for you. For the 3 of you. You bought a house? I did. Because you need a home. A real home. Juliet sat down on the sofa in the middle of the room. Colton, I can't accept this. Yes, you can. It's too much. Her whole house. It's not too much, it's what you deserve. The girls ran back inside. Uncle Colton, there's a tree with oranges, Lucy said, out of breath. And a place where we can make a garden, Ruby added. Did you like it? He asked. We love it, the two shouted together. Then it's official. This is your house. Our house? Ruby asked, incredulous. Our house. Forever, Lucy asked. Forever. The girls hugged each other and started dancing around the living room. Juliet watched, her eyes filling with tears. Colton, she said softly, how can I thank you for this? You don't have to thank me. You need a house. I can give you a house. But why? Why are you doing all this for us? Colton sat next to her on the sofa. Lucy and Ruby had gone back outside to explore the yard. Because you're family, he said simply. All my adult life, I thought I knew what was important. Money, success, recognition. I thought I was building something significant. And you were. No, I was building walls, isolating myself from everything that truly matters. And what truly matters? This, he pointed to the girls in the yard. Them, you, family, love. Juliet began to cry silently. Nathan would be happy, she said. He would. He wanted you to have security, a good life. Now you will. The girls ran back inside, this time bringing some oranges they had picked. Look, Ruby showed them the fruit. The tree gave us oranges. Can we make juice? Lucy asked. You can do whatever you want. This is your house. When are we moving in? Ruby asked. Today, if you want. Today? The two shouted. Why not? We don't have many things to bring. Juliet stood up and walked to the window overlooking the backyard. But they look happy. They are happy. It's been a long time since I've seen them like this. Now they'll always be like this. Juliet turned to him. I'll be able to pay for part of this. When I start working. Juliet, stop. But you're not going to pay for anything. I can't accept that. Colton stood up and faced her. I will secure your future. In my brother's name. You will want for nothing. You have my commitment as family. Juliet looked at him for a long moment. In her eyes, Colton saw silent gratitude, relief, and something that looked like hope. Thank you, she whispered. You don't have to thank me. It's family taking care of family. The rest of the day passed quickly. They returned to the apartment, gathered their few clothes and personal belongings, the drawings from the fridge, the toys. When they returned to the new house, the girls ran straight to the backyard. Can I plant flowers? Lucy asked. Of course. You can plant whatever you want. And a vegetable garden? Ruby asked. That too. The girls ran to explore the yard again. Juliet and Colton stood on the back porch watching. They're already at home, Juliet observed. They are. It's like they've always lived here. Children adapt quickly when they feel safe. And do they feel safe? For the first time in a long time, yes. A week later, on a calm Sunday afternoon, they were all in the backyard. Juliet was tending to the flowers they had planted. Colton was trying to assemble a swing set he had bought, and Lucy was drawing while sitting on the grass. Ruby approached him as he struggled with the swing's ropes. Uncle Colton, she said softly. What is it, sweetie? Can I ask something? Of course. Ruby glanced at her sister, then at her mother, as if to make sure no one was listening. Is Daddy coming back? Colton stopped what he was doing. It was the question he knew would come, sooner or later. He knelt to her level. Why do you ask, Ruby? Because we're happy here. And if Daddy comes back, will he know where we are? Colton looked into the girl's big, curious eyes. It was time. Ruby, Daddy isn't coming back. No. No, Daddy is in heaven, but he loves you, and he's with you. Always. Ruby processed the information for a moment. Like Grandpa. Colton remembered Juliet had told him her father had died when she was a child. Like Grandpa. And can he see us from there? He can, and he's proud of you. Really? Very proud, Lucy approached, having overheard part of the conversation. Did Daddy become a star? She asked. Maybe, Colton replied. What do you think? I think so, Ruby said. The brightest star. Should we draw him in the sky? Lucy suggested. Good idea. The girls ran to get paper and pencils. Juliet came over. Did you hear? Colton asked. I heard. You told them the right way. They seem to have understood. They did, and they accepted it. Easier than I imagined. Children handle the truth better than adults. Lucy and Ruby returned with their drawing supplies and sat on the grass. Now let's make the sky really blue, Lucy said. And Daddy really big, Ruby added. They drew for almost an hour. A blue sky with white clouds, golden stars, and in the middle of it all, a smiling figure waving down. Done, Lucy announced. Daddy in the sky. He's waving at us, Ruby explained. Colton looked at the drawing. It was simple, childish, but full of love and hope. It's beautiful, he said. Do you want to keep it? Lucy asked. Very much. Colton folded the paper carefully and put it in his wallet, along with the pictures of the girls at the park. Now, Daddy will always be with you, Ruby said. Always, Colton confirmed. That night, after the girls were asleep, Colton and Juliet sat on the front porch of the house. How do you feel? He asked. Light, she answered. For the first time in a long time, light. They handled the truth well. They did. I think deep down they already knew. They sat in silence, watching the quiet street. Colton. Yes? Thank you. For everything. For this house, for taking care of the girls, for giving me hope again. Thank you for letting me be a part of your family. Nathan would be happy. He would. And now we can move forward. Together. Together, Juliet agreed. Inside the house, Lucy and Ruby slept soundly in their rooms, safe and loved. In the yard, the flowers they had planted together were beginning to sprout. And in Colton's wallet, a drawing of a father in the sky watched over them all. The family was complete. Different from what anyone had imagined, but complete. And the future, for the first time in a long time, looked bright. Monday, 7 in the morning. Colton woke up earlier and went straight to the girls' house. Good morning, he shouted as he entered. Uncle Colton. Lucy and Ruby ran to hug him, already dressed in their new school uniforms. Are you ready? Almost. Juliet appeared from the kitchen, holding 2 blue ribbons. Just need to do their hair. The backpacks were lined up on the table. 2 identical pink backpacks, with all the supplies the school had requested. Come here, girls, Juliet called. I'm going to put your ribbons in. While Juliet did the girls' hair, Colton went to the kitchen to pack their lunches. Ham and cheese sandwiches with cut-up fruit, cookies, and small juice boxes. You don't have to do this every day, Juliet said. I like doing it. I'm nervous, Ruby said quietly. Why? Colton asked. What if the other kids don't like us? You are special and you'll make friends in no time. Promise, Lucy asked. I promise. The school was a 5-minute drive away. Lucy and Ruby were glued to the window the whole way, watching other children walking with backpacks. Look how many kids, Lucy pointed. It's big, Ruby observed, looking at the school building. And pretty, Lucy added. At the school entrance, they met the girls. Teacher, Mrs. Martinez, a 50-year-old woman with a warm smile. These must be Lucy and Ruby, she said, bending down to their level. Yes, Lucy replied shyly. My classroom has books, games, and even an aquarium with little fish. Want to see? The girls looked at Juliet, who nodded. Uncle Colton, Ruby tugged on his shirt sleeve. Are you going to pick us up? Always. Even if you have to work. Even if I have to work. Nothing is more important than you. And you too, Mummy, Lucy asked. Me too. We'll be here at 3 o'clock sharp? The girls hugged Juliet and then Colton, long hugs as if they didn't want to separate. Everything will be all right, Colton whispered. You're brave, remember? Brave like Daddy, Ruby said. Exactly. Mrs. Martinez held out her hands. Shall we go, girls? Lucy and Ruby took the teacher's hands and walked toward the building. They stopped at the door and waved. Bye, Mummy. Bye, Uncle Colton. Colton and Juliet stood on the sidewalk, watching the girls disappear inside the school. They'll be fine, Juliet said. Yes, they will. Juliet held his arm. So Colton, you gave them something no one else could, almost security. It was a team effort. No, it was you. You showed up when they needed it most and changed everything. Colton dropped Juliet off at home and went to the office. He tried to work, but he kept thinking about the girls. How were they doing? At 2:30 in the afternoon, he left the office to pick up the girls. He arrived at the school 15 minutes early and found Juliet already waiting. You're early too, she asked, smiling. I couldn't concentrate on work. At 3 o'clock sharp, the children started to come out. Lucy and Ruby came out holding hands, chatting excitedly with a red-haired girl. Mommy! Uncle Colton! They shouted when they saw them. How was it? Juliet asked, hugging them both. Great, Lucy said. We made a friend. Ruby added. Her name is Sarah. In the car, the girls told them all about their first day, the nice teacher, the books in the library, lunch in the cafeteria, games at recess. And homework? Juliet asked. Just a little. The teacher said we have to draw our family. Our family, Colton repeated. Yeah, So we're going to draw me, Lucy, Mommy, and you, Uncle Colton, Ruby said. Me? Of course, you're part of our family. In the middle of us, Lucy said, because you're important. Months later, life had found its rhythm. Every morning, Colton would stop by the house to have breakfast with them. Juliet would prepare scrambled eggs and toast while he checked if their backpacks were ready. Lucy and Ruby now showered by themselves, brushed their teeth without complaining, and put on their uniforms without needing help. At school, they made more friends besides Sarah, Emma, who liked to draw. Marcus, a funny boy who knew a lot of jokes. Today, Emma lent me her colored pencils, Lucy recounted in the car. And Marcus told a joke that made me laugh a lot, Ruby added. Juliet had found her routine. She cooked dishes the girls liked, tended to the garden, and read books from the library. She started working part-time at a local flower shop. I like my job, she told Colton. I feel useful. Every afternoon after school, Colton would stop by the house. It was his favorite part of the day. Uncle Colton, the girls would shout when he arrived. After their snack, he would help with their homework. Simple math, reading words, themed drawings. Can I help you with that problem? He would ask when he saw Lucy frowning. Listen to this, Uncle Colton. The cat climbed on the roof. Ruby read proudly. Perfect. You're reading very well. On weekends, they did simple things, the park, the supermarket, the library, sometimes the movies. Can we see the princess movie? Ruby always asked. We can, Colton always replied. And popcorn? Lucy would ask. And popcorn. On a random Sunday afternoon, they were all in the backyard. The sun was warm, perfect for being outdoors. Lucy was sitting on a towel, drawing in her new notebook. She had improved a lot at drawing since starting school. What are you drawing? Juliet asked. Our house. With all the flowers we planted. Ruby was dancing on the grass, a dance she had made up herself. She twirled, jumped, and raised her arms to the sky. I'm a ballerina, she shouted. The most beautiful ballerina in the world, Colton said. Juliet was sitting in a garden chair, reading a book she had gotten from the library. Good book? Colton asked. Great. It's about a family that finds happiness in the simple things. Sounds familiar. Colton was sitting on the grass, just watching. Lucy focused on her drawing, Ruby dancing freely, Juliet reading and smiling. There was no luxury there. The house was simple, the furniture basic, the clothes unbranded, but there was something money couldn't buy. Peace. And for the first time in his life, Colton understood what belonging felt like. Uncle Colton, Ruby stopped dancing and threw herself onto his lap. Are you happy? Very happy. Why? Because I'm with you. We're happy too, Lucy said, without looking up from her drawing. Why are you happy? He asked. Because we have you, Ruby answered. And Mommy. And our house. And our school. And because Daddy is looking down at us from heaven and he's proud, Lucy finished. Colton looked up at the blue sky. Maybe Nathan really was watching. Maybe he was happy to see his family safe and loved. I think he is proud, Colton said. I'm sure of it, Juliet said, closing her book and looking at all of them. The sun began to set, painting the sky orange. Soon it would be time for baths, dinner, and bedtime stories. But for now, they were there, together, at peace. Will we be like this forever? Ruby asked. Forever, Colton promised.